Gotcha. And I'm pretty sure where you are, it's everything is kind of conservative leaning.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I wouldn't say far, far right, like crazy right, but I mean, North Dakota, Midwest, they don't want the government in their business, and I feel the same way. I don't want the government dictating what I need to do when.
I'm with you right there, Dave, and I know we're getting going right away, but I want to let me start it off and tell everyone to welcome on to the Black Male Conversation, and welcome to Dr. Paul's iHeart iTunes podcast, Bridges Live, all that stuff. Because we like to have real conversations about real issues, and that's what we do, and that's why we all come together. So I do want to pray us in, because we need prayer, we need Buddha, we need it all. We need Hare Krishna. I need tambourines going up. I need people in air. Because I tell you right now, brothers, and I wrote this after watching the I cried watching the debate. I was in tears. And the reason why I was in tears is because I kept seeing that this is where our country is at. And that made me so sad. It didn't matter who these people were. And I looked at it like this. I looked at it like if our country is the children of these parents, we are now going to run the streets and be, drug addicted just because my parents are crazy and I don't ever want to go home. And that's how I looked at this TV. I was looking at I was like an abused child, and that's how I took it upon it. And it was sad to me. It was just sad. So I had to cry. And I did cry. And then I started feeling about, where do we go? What do we like? I just had so much more questions and emotions than answers. So I know we're going to talk about a lot of things. You know what, Malik? You're like, I don't know why I see like it seems dim, but you're good. So I want to hear your take on, and we'll get into. I want to get into it, but I want to hear you guys' individual take on just where it is. And I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, right?
Well, I guess I'll start. As an English teacher, it was very hard to watch. It's very hard to see something that a debate is beautiful, and I'm glad that like you weren't the only one, because I kind of had to shed a tear too, because when I went back and spoke to some of my students, I said, when you box or when you do martial arts or when you debate, there's no difference. You don't do it to like beat a person down. You do it so that a debate is an intellectual takeover. That's what you want. So you give time and you get time. And when you box, you don't do it to beat a man down. It's a gentlemanly sport. I mean, you go back and forth. I mean, it's pugilism. And the same as when you do martial arts or fencing or anything like that. And so when I liken the debate to boxing, here are two people just beating each other down for blood. That's very sad, because if that's the state of affairs that we're in right now, where we cannot have gentlemanly discussion and give time and get time and try to like mentally win the discussion without beating somebody up, that's a very sad state of affairs.
Yeah. D, you're up.
I mean, I'm just from hearing you guys talk, and I'm just kind of in a state of, how can I say, pain, emergency, a moment of silence, just kind of taking all this stuff in of what's going on, and of course the debate and all that other good stuff. But it's crazy. And I know you guys, know about, having your boogie bag, in your trucks or, at home. Literally, these are the journals I have and books that I have in a bag that I have for myself. You understand me? That I just kind of just keep reading and keep reading, trying to find, the answers of how I can pull myself up, pull my family up, pull my students and my coworkers up, and everybody else who's kind of around me. That's just where I am right now. It's one of those things where we already see what the issue is. We see what the problems are. Now I'm just trying to figure out in my best way possible to find the solution. And it's one of those things where all of us have been in athletics or martial arts or some kind of boxing or wrestling or something. And how can I say? It's just one of those, for me, it's like one of those, man, dust your shoulders off and let's go. Get up, let's go. Because, man, it is rough to see, all this stuff about, the person in the hospital and all this other craziness, all these, to me, distractions that are going on from, whatever is kind of moving underneath, of all of this. I hope that everybody understand where I'm coming from.
Hey, we hear you, because I think all of us are, we're lost for words. And I think you're saying it, you read those books, and I do have a go bag, and read books. I'm reading the Quran. I'm reading the Torah. I'm reading the Bible.
Everything. Yeah.
The Watchtower.
The Watchtower.
Yeah.
Whatever's gonna help.
He said the Watchtower, right? And I don't know about you guys, man, but I'm going for my daily walks and getting on my bike and all that other kind of stuff, and I'm a very spiritual person, and I'm just waiting for something to talk to me, or something to be said, like, no, go this way, or, that's all. Because right now, we're not getting what we need from either one of these guys. Of course, the media is shoveling us a whole bunch of crap, I think. And I don't know, it's just on us, more groups like this, seeing you guys in here, and just, just even Dr. Dyer putting this together, means a whole lot. Just to have somewhere where we can converse and talk to like-minded, gentlemen, and kind of pick your brains on some of the things that you guys might be doing.
Malik, what do you got? Where are you?
So here's what I'm gonna say. This is all by design. Everything that we're feeling, everything that we're going through is by design. If you haven't checked this out, HBO has a documentary called Agent of Change.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you guys have seen it, but it basically talks, right? Basically breaks down how Russia interfered in the 2016 election, but it hasn't stopped, right? And one of the things that they want to do is basically make us feel the way we're feeling right now, right? Donald Trump, whether by design, whether he knows it or not, right, is aiding and helping them, right? So he's a chaotic president.
Yes.
Everything he does is chaotic. The one thing that frustrates me is when I hear people say the debate, it was both sides, like it was both candidates, and it really wasn't. It was Donald Trump, and he's doing what he does, right? He's bringing that reality show mentality to our government, right? He's a divisive individual, so everything he does is divisive. From the first time he came down the escalator, it's divisive. And he's also woken up, like the far right, like fringe groups, the white supremacists, they now have a friend in the White House. So we see this, right? And everything is focused on Donald Trump, Donald Trump. So what's happening is all the attention is going to his antics. Nobody's looking at what's actually happening, right? Do we know 128 conservative judges have been appointed to the federal bench, right? 2 conservative judges have been appointed to the Supreme Court. It's about to be a third. What does that mean? There's 3 branches of government, right? The conservative branch controls like 1 branch, right? That has ramifications and everything from abortion laws to healthcare to Obamacare. Yo, it's about to get bad. If you think it's bad right now, right? I don't see the positive outcome, right? Even with the election. If you see what's happening with the election, right? We're focused on what Donald Trump is saying, but do you know what just happened in Pennsylvania? You know, they just passed election, committee that they get a chance to see the election, like they have subpoena power, right? What does that mean? We know what just happened in Texas with the governor. There's 1 Dropbox per county.
That's right.
What does that
One
mean?
Dropbox per
One
county.
Dropbox.
Per
One-
county.
per
Listen,
county.
Houston has 5 million people. You telling me you're gonna have 1
Mark.
Dropbox in Houston?
You got to
Right.
be kidding me.
Yeah. So what does this like? We gotta kind of see the writing on the wall, right? And the last thing I'll say is this, right? I'm not into the charismatic leader, right? So Donald Trump, people are like appealed to because he's charismatic, right? And for whatever reason, they like that. Let's not so much focus on the Biden as the individual, but Biden as the Biden administration, right? Who's going to be in his administration, right? Who's going to have all these seats from education to infrastructure? Like, that's what we have to focus on, right? And I know he has like a track record that some people have problems with, but influence. Who do we have more influence over? Is it a
Right.
Biden administration or is it a Trump administration? Right. So I'm sure we're going to get into a lot of stuff, but all this is by design. That's my takeaway. All this is by design. This is happening for a reason.
Hey, welcome back, Smooth.
Hey,
We've gotten into what we've been feeling, and Wesley's next, and then it's you. Go ahead, Wes.
okay. Well, the guys are pretty much have echoed some of the things which I was thinking about, but the thing is, we know what we've got currently, and we know that's not working. And as far as with that debate, on an intellectual sense, he couldn't really go against Biden as far as on facts and stuff. That's what it was not all about. So he had no alternative but to distract in that way. And of course, I'm the type of person that has always believed that Republicans don't have all the answers. Democrats don't have all the answers. And I've always been somewhere as far as in the middle of the road, as far as what's best for our country overall. Because they all bring something good to the table. And I was brought up in the Midwest, and I've always been told, by my grandfather, you don't get something for nothing. And sometimes we have some folks that are looking to do that, and they rely too much on the government, and that's never a good thing.
Yeah.
We're all adults here, and we have to take care of our families, get out there and do the jobs just like everyone else and everything. And so, but yes, but currently what we have right now is definitely not working. And as far as our influences for overseas, we're definitely in the toilet. We're the laughing stock of the world. And I didn't think that we would ever be in that type of position, but you never know. When people are feeling desperate, they do desperate things, even to vote in someone like that. Because like my wife and I, we've had many conversations that says, let's turn this clock back a little bit. Would we have had this problem if we did not have Barack Obama as the president, and then had this watershed of Black individuals voting back then? And she says, I think it's just scared the bejesus out of people.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, we're going to have to stop this. And so what do? They vote someone in so radical that, it's just, it starts to turn things back. And, and it's sad that people are driven so much by their own fears and everything, despite even some of these policies are going to be working against them, and, but that's not who we are, and that's the sad thing, because we have the next generation that we have to be concerned about. And here we are, we're letting someone like 45 in here, turn this country upside down because people are scared, and we just can't let that happen, but that's where I'm at right now.
Yeah.
Smooth.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. I hope all is well. Always a pleasure to be on here. Well, again, I'm gonna make it really quick and to the point. I think everyone from what I've heard have made excellent points. And just talking about the debate, I would have to disagree with Malik. We had this conversation a day or two ago. Outside looking in, the debate was a debacle. Because there's an old saying, when you see two fools arguing, you can't tell which one is a fool. Again, when you get into something with a guy like Donald Trump, he'll make you look bad. His entire deal, as Malik said, has been division, divide and conquer. I believe Wes made a great point, and I've felt this the entire time. Ever since Barack Obama was the president, I feel the good old boys in network felt, we just had a Black president. How dare us have a white female woman president? So we have to go as far from that as possible. So I think that put everything in a downside because of the drunkenness over power. And our nation has been built on that. Everyone wanted to be in that lead role, not giving up anything. And again, 45 wants to divide and conquer. And again, he's been really good at it thus far, and fear is big with this.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an optimist. I really believe our country is starting to see what is going on here. And all the people, and a good amount of people who supported him the first go round, see that this guy will turn on us just like he's turned on everyone else. This is my honest opinion, not knowing all the details on politics. And I give a lot of credit to my good friend Malik, and he schools me on some information. I really think this will turn into a blowout at some point where this guy just gets crushed, meaning 45, and things will turn to a different way. That's my take.
So, and you didn't hear this, Smooth, but I cried during watching the debate. I just completely started sobbing like I lost a child. And it was so hurtful to me to watch these people,
right,
and think about our country collectively, individually, family, economically, just the whole thing. And the division is right there on the screen. It didn't matter what is the. So now I heard this, and we said this off air, that there's an uptick in Black male voting for Trump in the polls. I don't know who they're polling. But if there's an uptick, and I did read this also, and I talked to Wesley, that Black men are afraid they vote for immigration, and Trump's hard on immigration, right? We have the lowest immigration people coming into the country since he's been president. And Black males are concerned about immigrants taking their jobs. I'm like, okay, I gotta ask my brothers on Saturday this damn question, because are you guys afraid of immigrants taking your jobs? Raise your hand if you are. And I want to ask
You know what's crazy about that though? So the jobs that immigrants will do when they come over, I don't know the Black man that will want that job. I don't know if that sounds funny or not.
Right, but yeah,
that's another farce. And I feel like we fall for that. And let me just say this, right? There are Black people that will support Trump, but also during slavery, there was Black people that supported the slave master,
right,
and fought for the slave master's rights. So that doesn't surprise me, right? But I think it's deeper, right? It's deeper than Trump. It's deeper than like the charismatic leader, than the individual person. You know, there's like years and years of work that's gone into like these parties, and both parties have like a way of thinking, right? And that's what they're fighting for, that power, that way of thinking. Like Trump filling 128 federal like judgeships didn't happen overnight. That
No.
was planned, right? If you guys, I don't know if you heard of like the Federalist Society,
Yeah.
right? They've been grooming judges, right?
Mhm.
Conservative judges
Yes.
for an opportunity just like this, right? And it goes back to like Roe v. Wade when they lost that, the Warren like Supreme Court. So there's history there, and I think we have to be students of history because history repeats itself,
Yeah.
right? The Southern strategy, they're doing that now. Like all of this stuff repeats itself. So I think us as a community, we just got to be more aware of what's happening.
But you know, Obama left a lot of those seats open.
He was blocked. Mitch McConnell
Right.
blocked him. So I mean,
Mitch
that's another
McConnell.
farce, right?
Yep.
That's
Yeah.
I think.
Listen, it
Exactly.
happened when he tried to fill like the Supreme Court position. He got blocked. So a lot of those federal positions got blocked, and they were waiting. They didn't know whether a Republican, presidential candidate was going to win or not, but
Mhm.
they were waiting for that opportunity. So the opportunity, and they definitely have taken advantage of it.
Yeah. But you know, one of the other things that, you know, where black men might be a little more concerned with things, it's not so much, Malik, that they'd be afraid about their taking their jobs, but when these immigrants get here, they come here with the expectation that they're getting nothing from the government. So
Yeah.
once they get their foot in the door, if they're cleaning our buildings, if they are doing construction work, they start to go ahead and work together. And then they start to build businesses together. And then they start to come up together. And then they also, as a result of that, they kind of also lock us out of their businesses because we weren't there for them when they came here.
Right.
And so
right.
that's another thing where they probably
And the black
because
and
the
the
thing
black,
is, it's, you know, it's all
the black community never did it.
you're saying something, Doc?
Yeah, we never did that for each other.
No.
We never
That's what I was-
supported us. We
Yeah.
never said, hey, you got a business. Can you train my son? Can we build the business together? And I was talking about this with my wife too, and I said, you know, I talked to this landscaper person. I was like, you know, landscaping machines are expensive. And I asked him, I said, oh man, you guys, you do this whole neighborhood? He goes, yeah. I said, these are all your machines? He says, no, this is another friend of mine's company's machines, and we alternate days of using the same machines that they all pay for. And I'm like, that is awesome. That's brilliant.
Right.
You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
you have it's like the black community be like, nah, you can't use my machine. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You know, it's like, whoa, okay, I guess I have to try to save up. And then when I'm trying to save up, maybe something happens to us. Like, because those machines are $3-4 grand easily used.
And until we
Mhm.
continue, until we learn how to like work together, you know, as a unit, man, we're gonna keep finding ourselves in situations like this.
Mhm.
So what are you guys thinking about? You know, when we talk about, I don't want to talk about the president or Biden as much as I want to talk about policy. What do you guys think of the policy? I know we were talking about, Dave had said that he's more of what you call, I don't like big government. I don't like big government either. Just not into it. Not a fan. I'm personally not a fan. You know, I like my guns, and people say, well, we need more restrictions on guns. We have a lot of great restrictions on guns now. So I don't know what more you're going to put. They're like, well, we need guns off the street. That has nothing to do with me buying the gun in the store, because the guns out on the street are coming from someplace. So what do you guys think about policy and government?
Let me ask you a question about the guns.
Yeah.
Right? so I'm in Brooklyn, New York. So my thought on guns is a little different.
Right,
Like I'm okay with like guns to protect you and your home. Do
right.
you need a submachine gun for that? An automatic rifle?
You don't need one. So to answer your question, no, you don't need one.
But
Yeah.
is there a but? So I mean that's my thing. It's like, yo, how come we can't ban assault rifles?
Well, I look at things when I talk about government. So sometimes when I look at things, good, bad, or indifferent, I start with the question: do we want the government to? Okay, and that's where I base a lot of my decisions off of. Whether that's good, bad, I don't know. But so my question is: do you want the government to tell you, like, okay, keep Second Amendment in mind. Do you want the government to tell you the guns you may have? Do you want the government to dictate that for you?
Yeah, I think there has to be guardrails,
Yeah.
right? Because what happens is if there's no parameters, then you gotta have like people like what happens in like schools getting assault rifles and going crazy. Like you see now, like people like the Proud Boys, you see like how they're armed, they're walking the streets with like submachine guns. Like, is that necessary
Well, the kid who shot the people in
in Wisconsin?
yeah,
That's kind of right.
Mhm.
He had like AR-47.
yeah.
Do we need that?
Now, I'm not saying there's a right answer or anything,
Right.
but that's how I approach it. Like, do you want the government to tell you when and where you can have your gun based off the Second Amendment, or should we change the Second Amendment?
Because Malik, what the problem we're gonna have with that is, and I agree with Dave, because once it starts, like if they just said, okay, this rifle, right? The AR, the black rifles is what it's called. You cannot have these rifles except for blah, blah, blah. It never stops there. It never stops there. It's always, okay, well then we're gonna add this, and then we're gonna add this, and that's where the problem is. That's the problem.
And like, whoa, okay, so we had
No,
Saturday night
but-
specials. Now
It was in
that
the-
costs a lot of crime. Sorry, Wes. Go ahead.
No, Dave, you're all right. I mean, on the flip side, it goes the other way. I mean, because the thing is, when you have these cop killer bullets out there, you know, where you can shoot through bullet vests. I mean, why does someone like a normal citizen need that type of ammunition, you know, to be on the street? Some things are just made for the military, and we don't need to have,
Right.
you know.
Yeah, I think that's where I fall at. Do we need military style equipment like in a residential area? Like I get it, if you live in a rural area,
Right.
and you call a cop and they may not come for like a half an hour, you need to defend yourself, your persons, and your property. I get that. I'm not taking that away from anybody. But do you need a grenade launcher? You know, like what are we in there? What's the gap?
Right.
Like listen, you've seen people and you know, they went to the extreme. I
Yeah.
don't think we need to do extreme stuff.
Well, as you said, Malik, I think location is the key. Because again, living in New York for a great part of my life, understanding how guns get on the street, and then you have certain people who can go bananas, it just scares the living daylights out of you. Then I guess like you, Doc, maybe your surroundings and your setting and where you are, Woodsy, maybe a little bit different in understanding you can have some sort of rifle similar to that or arms and be used and be more responsible. Because in New York City, I mean, a lot can be done really quickly when someone is irresponsible in an area where you're so close together.
But we know also knives, blades kill a lot of people. Machetes can kill a lot of people. So like, so when we base it off of fear, and I know, Malik, you're not basing it off of fear, you're being like, there's gotta be a cap. And actually I don't disagree with you, because there are people who do have some extreme stuff, and I'm glad I know them. But there's some people who have some extreme stuff, and should there be a cap on it? I can agree with that. But when it comes to it, the only problem I think I have with the cap is the cap gets bigger somehow. All of a sudden, there's more stuff in the cap. It's like they just never stop. It's like a taxation. We only want your 1% tax on this. And then once that gets paid for, well, give me my 1% back. Oh, no, we're not going to give you it back. We're not giving it back. So,
And there,
go ahead.
and therein lies the problem. I mean, I always, look at the hardest thing for me in government is to not look at the subjectiveness of how to limit things. And that's the real, like, how do you objectively limit something? In this case, it's guns. So how you say, like, words like need, like, do we need it? Like, because once in a while, I mean, once we start doing that, like Doc said, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then that need definition takes on a different lingo. And then it's like, and then next thing you know, guns are banned. Well, what about Second Amendment? So it's really hard in government to try to find objective ways to limit things. That's just coming from my experience.
Well, the thing is, in that sense, I think we have to do a better job of checking out the people who want to buy the weapons.
Yeah.
The thing is, they don't want to do that. They don't want to do the background checks and stuff. They just want to be able to sell the guns. But we need to really know about the individual.
But we do have a background check. I mean, I used to run, and you go through a BCI, check, which is a federal check to see if you have any warrants, and you've been in jail, or you're a doctor, you're medically, things like that. Now, here's the thing: it's like driver's license. Things can change after you get the gun, or after you drive the car. Like, there's some people, I believe, after a certain age in driving, you should go back and get rechecked. You know what I mean? There's people that driver's license forever, and they're not the same as they were when they were 18. So, and it happens that way with guns too. Like, it was like you were healthy when you were 21, but now you're 35 and you've been divorced twice and you've been drinking more, and now you're in a dark basement playing video games. Now we lost them. We don't know what lifestyle you lived that changed your mindset. Now you have the gun in the closet and everything's changed. So that's where it gets all wonky. But then again, that kind of goes back to community, though, I think, because we should know our neighbors, know our people, and know people. So when they're starting to go sideways, we're like, that nigga's got like 80 guns in his house. And he don't look all that healthy.
But
I think the word responsibility is important also.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when things go haywire, there's a lack of responsibility. And like you just touched on, Doc, there should be a checkpoint after the initial to make sure someone is responsible enough to own or be in a position to have a firearm or whatever the case may be.
Right.
You know what though? I like guns is one thing. I also think like the Republicans have, and actually the country, like capitalist society, has a free market like theory.
Right.
And I think that's hurtful as well. If you kind of trace back to all the issues that we're having right now, right? It goes back to like the free market like economy, right? And that's basically where big business is supposed to make as much money as possible for their shareholders. So they used to have manufacturing jobs, in all of these rural places, in like middle America, but they got rid of those jobs, shipped it overseas because they can make more money. Right. Well, that doesn't help like that local economy. That helps that shareholder, right, and that CEO, but doesn't help the local economy, right?
Yeah.
And Republicans fight for that.
So now I'm glad you brought it up, Malik, because people are definitely afraid of certain words: socialism, anti this, not so. How can let anyone explain what a socialist really is? Because when if you ever hear conservative radio talk, they're like, you're voting against socialism, not for Trump. Right? That's the difference. You're voting for God, not for Trump. You're voting to keep your rights, not for Trump. So they're never saying vote for Trump. They're saying vote for these things. If you believe in your rights, your how to make money, right? The capitalist society, then this is why you would vote for this particular people. But if you vote for the left, you're going to be a socialist society, and you're not going to have any say, and they're going to take all your money.
Right.
That's what they're saying.
Yeah, and I think that's been pulled, right? You gotta remember, all of this stuff has gone through like vetting. So they've
Yeah.
had focus groups and gotten them together and said, okay, what word should we say?
Mhm.
Right? What's the key word to get people riled up? Like
Yeah.
Donald Trump and his allies figured out it was immigration, because people like my grandfather's generation probably did better because they were manufacturing jobs. They were jobs where somebody can work and they can hold down a family, have what they say is the American dream: house, car, provide for their family, send their kids to school, and then next generation will have a job. Well, because we have a free market society, those jobs got shipped overseas where the labor is cheaper.
Mhm.
Who do you blame? Well, you gotta blame who? Okay, listen, I'll say the boogeyman. The boogeyman is the Mexicans that are coming over and probably doing my lawn. Those are not the jobs we're talking about,
Right.
right? But somebody sat back in a research, firm and said, listen, how can we, take the blame off of the real issues? And they came up with all these buzzwords that Republicans are actually using now. And we sit back in society, we fall for it, right? So it's always the other, whether it's Black, whether it's Mexican, whether it's Muslims, it's other, right? Don't look at the corporations, right? Look, Apple is a multi-billion-dollar organization. Guess where the iPhone is built?
Right.
In China.
Right.
Yep.
Now you telling me, right? Actually, I'm saying billion. I think they're talking about it may be the first trillion. Exactly. So you telling me they can't cut some of those costs? And I got Apple shares, so let me just say that I got Apple shares. Right?
And they've been going down, so I know what you mean. So yeah.
Yeah, right. So it's like instead of that 4-to-1 split, if it would have did a 3-to-1 split or a 2-to-1 split, I still would have been okay. But that means that phone would have been manufactured in Middle America where the jobs are needed. Right? You look at a place like Pittsburgh, right? Big corporation came in, the city is polluted, corporation left, right?
Yeah.
And then you got all of these people who are struggling. They don't know how to feed their families because that corporation took the jobs overseas.
Yeah.
That's the issue, and nobody's really talking about that.
Yeah.
Well, so here they say, well, the reason why, they know that corporations left overseas because of all the regulations, right? Because you're allowed to build things in overseas with less regulations. So big business, it goes back to that capitalistic mental thing. Like I lose less money for my shareholders because instead of me making it for like $5 in the US, I get to make it for 50 cents overseas, and I make $4.50 more profit, right?
Yep.
So that's what happened. So now what Trump did, he deregulated a lot of stuff. So companies were like, oh, great, you deregulated it, so I'll come back. Now I don't have to pay those regulation fees. So now that's when he said, make America great again. He was working on those companies saying, well, come on back and I'm going to deregulate all that crap. You don't have to pay all these taxes. You don't have to worry about this. So now you don't have to pay those regulation fees. That's where, so what do you do with those businesses that don't want to pay those fees? Is it smooth? You said responsibility. Is
Right.
How do we hold corporations to responsibility? Like human responsibility.
Well, that's very difficult to do because, again, when you're talking about big business and money, when that comes into play, no one really cares.
Right.
Wherever the money is, that's where everyone wants to go. And the small person, the little guy, gets trampled over, and that's usually the case. And those are the people who are searching for the jobs.
Mhm.
And almost every time you're going to find a group that feels like they are that little man and that they're getting left out because, okay, so Trump wants to make America great again and do what you say, Doc. Well, now you got the EPA on his back because, those regulations deal directly with them. You got the taxpayers saying, hey, whoa, they're not paying their fair share. I mean, you're danged if you do and you're danged if you don't, realistically. So if it's not about the stockholder saying, hey, we think the company should be ran this way in a capitalist society, I don't know how everyone's going to be the little man, each section.
But you know what that means? That means the planet is the little man as well.
Right.
The planet is suffering. Listen,
Right.
climate control is real. Climate change is real. But if I'm a corporation, then if I have to be a responsible, neighbor to wherever I am, right? That means I make less profits. My shareholders make less profits, right? CEO is not gonna stay in that job for long if the company's not growing. It's sort of like a play.
Right.
The play comes in, you eating up as much as you can, right? Forget everything else. And then when it leaves, right, what do you have left?
Michigan.
Yeah.
Michigan. I mean, that's where we're at. I mean, it's sick, but you're perfectly correct, Malik. Like, seriously, you come in and then you're like, well, where's the responsibility with the company? Well, my 500 stockholders that want that split.
So is this where I have a question for it's been a bee in my bonnet, and let's get to a number collectively. How many, and Dee being the teacher, and you too, Dave, how many underprivileged, we're talking poor, impoverished, no Wi-Fi, single mother, think about that picture in your head. How many 10th to 12th grade kids are there in America who are in that deprived situation? How many kids in America?
Millions.
Give me a number. We need to come to a number because I have 20 million in my head.
I mean, I was probably around there, 30, 40, who are just getting by, to the ones who need the help, but can probably, do some things on their own. But ones who
I'm talking just messed up neighborhood. They're not gonna have cable. They probably live in, subsidized housing. How many of those kids in the United States you're thinking? 30 million? What do you guys got?
30 to 20 million, somewhere around in there.
Malik, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. You know what I'm thinking also? I kind of want to put this to Woody. Right? He's our politician on the board. What's government's responsibility? Are they responsible for providing Wi-Fi in poor and franchise neighborhoods?
No.
Not at all.
And depending on the level of government is what they're responsible for. Like city government is responsible for some of the roads, the trash, the police, the fire, things like that, the necessary services. But oftentimes we get pushed in another direction, beautification, things like that. No, it's not the government's responsibility to provide, but therein lies the rub, because if you are to provide FAPE, so free, adequate public education, if you are to provide FAPE, we have to redefine what that means.
Right.
And FAPE is mostly used for special education. But if you have a textbook as a tool, and in the current situation we are now with COVID, if that tool becomes internet, the question then becomes, does the government education have to provide the tool to the student? So to answer your first question, Doctor, I agree, 20, 30 million, right?
Okay. So if we have 30 million and we're going to use that number because we don't know, from 10th grade to 12th grade.
Mhm.
And we know that in this 30 million, majority of them are Black and brown kids, Spanish kids, all, you name it, right? That's who we're thinking of. How many seniors out of the 30 million? Do we split up in thirds? So do we say, what, 11 million?
Seniors is in what? Like
Seniors,
high
like 12th
school?
graders, like the
Oh.
16, 17, 18-year-olds. Like, because we have 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade. So we're talking about 17, 18, 19-year-olds. So we will have 11 million?
Yes.
Okay, if we
Yep.
just split up in 11 million. Now, we know that those 11 million kids, if they were in school, we're talking about they most likely are getting detention. They're in somebody's office. They're accountable by something. Someone has eyes on them, or they know where they should be and where they're not, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Well, we have just now lost 11. Now, out of those 11 million, how many males? Let's split it down the middle, right?
Right.
9 million males or 8 million males,
Yeah.
or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm. And
What-
I know exactly where you're going with this.
What do we
I'm telling
do?
you.
What do we do with 8 million Black, brown kids who are uneducated, who we know that they're either going to get shot, in jail, doing something wrong? They're gonna come after you, right? In your money clip. So what do we do with these 9 million Black, brown children? Do we kill them now? Do we just march them off a cliff?
I'm gonna say something that might cause debate. So here we go. That hasn't changed.
No.
What has changed? I mean, what have we done with the 8 million from the past decade? What have we done with the 8 million from I mean, the reason why it's in front now is because we're better at statistics and it's televised.
Yeah.
But it's been happening forever. And I'm not gonna say we overcame it, but it's been happening for a very long time. And some have got on in later years and went back and became that mentor or whatever.
Right.
And some have gone by the wayside, unfortunately. Some have fell through the cracks and some have totally succeeded.
Yeah.
Now,
And-
you know what happens though? So they look at the statistics in the 8th grade and see how many people are in special ed, so they know how many prisons to build for that generation.
And they track it 10
Yeah, they
years.
track it. Because
Yeah.
there needs to be an underclass in this society to
Yeah.
make the engine run.
Got to
It
build
has
ponds. You building ponds in some areas, or a lot of areas. And with me being in the education, man, and I'm sorry, Malik, but I mean, I totally agree with you. This is all by design.
Right.
You understand? And this is one of those things where let the system work for them or for whomever is kind of controlling all of this. With what you were saying, Dr. Dyer, we are eventually releasing these kids, who are to be adults out in the public. And basically we are telling them, hey, just hold on.
Yeah.
Just go with what we gave you and hopefully you'll be okay. You see what I'm saying? You're no longer our issue. So it's up to guys like ourselves.
Right.
Try to get back into these communities, man. I tell people all the time, and I work with several brothers just like us who are in education who, I mean, we're doing all we can, man. Sometimes I feel, and a lot of times I feel like I want to do more, but reaching our hand back to the communities and trying to go get as many as we possibly can and trying to educate them. But, as you guys may see, you go to Instagram or you go to, some of these other things, man, you got so many distractions going on for our people, especially our Black males, whether it's, throwing some boobies up on the screen or you got to get these Jordans in every other color, as soon as they come out and so forth. It's a lot, man. It's a lot to deal with. Again, I love what I do. I love my babies, but man, and there's a lot of times we reach that hand back, and when I say they smack that bad boy and we'll let you know, man, I don't need it.
Yeah.
No, I'm good. I'm good. You know, no, we're trying to tell you you're not good. We're not good.
Right.
You see
We're
what I'm
not
saying?
good.
And I think about my daughters. You know, I have an 8 and a 10-year-old, and I think about them. You know, when it's their time to start dating and you know, possibly getting with somebody or something, who's going to be there?
Mm.
Who, you know, who? And I'm teaching them already. Like, you know, certain folks, I'm not trying to teach them how to judge anything, but certain folks, nah, you're not gonna bring in this house.
Right.
Nope. No.
Yes, you are.
Nope.
Yes, you are. You teach them how to judge. Yes, you are. Because I'm teaching mine how to judge. Yes, yes,
Well,
you
check
are.
it out, fellas. We are the X factor, and I love what you just said there. Our job is to beat the system. Our job
There
is
you
to
go.
change things.
Right.
I know it gets difficult.
Yeah.
That's why we have this group. That's why this group is good. That's why we get on here and discuss things, and we put information out where we can discuss it, and then we reach back and let these young cats know this is what you're going up against. Granted, we're going to lose some. We're not going to save everybody. That's
Right.
just part of how it works. However, there are some that we think we may not be saving, and they take a seat and say, you know what? I remember what Chris said. I remember what Doc said. I remember what Malik said, and they can make that change. We may not see it all the time, but we're doing our job, but we have to be consistent. It gets difficult. That's why when we come together, we can vent, show each other love, and say, hang in there, Doc. You're doing a good job. Malik, hang in there. Again, I love when I come on here, when I hear some things I have no idea about, some of the numbers and some of the things. But again, maybe I'm crazy. I go against it.
There
I
you
think
go.
we can beat it. I
That's
think
it.
we can beat the system. I really believe that. That's why I love what we do and when we come together, because there's that hope, there's that chance that when we beat it and you look back at it and say, you know what? They persevered, they rocked out. We helped this young man, we helped that young lady. And that's part of how this process works, how you beat it.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna ask a question then, if I may, Doc. So we sit here and I'm not talking about us, I'm saying in general, Blacks. And we're looking at two individuals who do not know what it's like to have Black skin. And we constantly look at, you know, government leaders who don't know what it's like to have Black skin. When I just think part of the overcoming is making sure we have people who know what it's like, who have been around, who have lived these same experiences that we have lived.
Okay.
And I just have a problem because when I look at government, I see a lot of Blacks there, but I don't see enough of it, and especially the ones that really want to emphasize what our views are.
So here's Woodsy. Here's the problem we have as Blacks. Baltimore is the most fucked up city I've ever had the pleasure and to be living in, near, and going to. It is, I've lived in a lot of places. New York kid. Baltimore burns Blacks. It's a Black killer. It's nothing but death in Baltimore. Baltimore has been ran by the Democratic Party, Black this, Black that, Black this. They haven't done nothing. And every politician be like, that's what you get when you put a Black person in politics is supposed to help. Look at Baltimore. They keep pointing, look at Baltimore. Look what you didn't do in Baltimore. But what about Baltimore? You had legislator this, you had reps this, you had a Black mayor, you had a Black governor, not governor, but look at Baltimore. You had a Black chief, police chief. Look at Baltimore. That's the answer. You get Baltimore.
Yeah, but listen, for every Baltimore, you got an Atlanta. You know,
right.
So I feel like
because
I think that's easy when we say stuff like that, and we forget the design. We forget why is Baltimore in the situation that it is. Listen, Haiti. why is Haiti in the situation that it is?
Right.
Like, we gotta go back and do like the history, and it'll explain everything. Here's what I will say. For this country to thrive, right, there needs to be an underclass. There needs to be people who are consumers, who spend. Our community is known as the spenders, right? And once again, that's by design, low self-esteem, all the trauma that we've endured, right? So we think we can like ease that trauma and that pain with materialistic things.
Right.
Mhm.
So there are corporations that play to that, right? Once again, I go back to like Cameron and like the Pink, or Jay-Z when he was like, yo, take the throwbacks off, right? Who was he talking to? He was talking to our community. We did it. And then we're the cool. So whatever the Black community does, everyone else follows,
Yeah.
right? But we're still an underclass. So we
Mhm.
spin. You know what? I remember when I was younger, my pops told me, and I'm gonna be 50 in like January. So that just gives you an idea, right? He
Mhm.
told me there's more Black men in jail than it is in college.
Mm.
That's still the case. In fact, those numbers are probably increased by now,
Right. Right.
right? So it's all by design. And we're probably in the same position. And you could tell me maybe we're doing better
I
than
don't
we
think
did in like 1965 when we were fighting for like the Civil Rights Act, the Free Election Act, fair housing, all the things that we were fighting for.
against
Right.
redlining. We're still fighting against redlining. They don't call it redlining no more. They call it something else.
Exactly.
They call it redistricting.
Redistricting.
Mm.
Yep.
Mm.
So we got gerrymandering, we got all this stuff happening. And to answer your question, this is what happened with Baltimore. Gerrymandering happened with Baltimore. Gerrymandering happened with Baltimore. They took all, because there's Baltimore City and then there's Baltimore County,
County, right?
right? So Baltimore County is thriving, right? The tax base really, people who were making money, right, moved out to Baltimore County and they left the city desolate, right? So the only thing that makes money in the city is the casino that's very, very new, right? And like the downtown area in John Hopkins. But people who live, people work in John Hopkins and the executive that works in those casinos, they live in Baltimore County. So they take their tax base out of the city. So
Mhm.
without money, what do? You can't have infrastructure, right? You got desolate communities, desolate buildings, like drugs
And-
came in.
And crooked politicians.
Mhm.
That
And that's
charismatic
the-
leader, once again, that charismatic leader, he came in and took advantage.
And that's the story of a city, because like Fargo's happening, it happened in Minneapolis, Chicago, and then we see the last part of it is when it's desolate and no one wants it, then people start moving back in,
Yep.
Right.
buying up the property,
Yeah,
Yep.
and then the
banks start
values
lending.
go up.
Yeah, the banks start lending money.
Yep.
So
Gentrification.
it's by design. Listen,
Yeah.
everywhere around the country, you got gentrification, and that
Yeah.
basically means
Yep.
white people started moving back. So banks started lending, right? So now if I can listen, I'm a small business owner, right? Access to capital is huge.
It's huge.
Right? The more capital you have, the more you can actually start hiring people, you start expanding your business, right? But if I don't have access to capital, none of that stuff happens.
Right.
So these communities that you're talking about, they didn't have access to capital. And then when gentrification started, they got squeezed out.
Mhm.
So they didn't even take advantage of all the stuff that they held on to.
Well,
Nope.
if we want to talk about capital, we know, I don't know if you know, but Trump is laying out a black plan for blacks. It's called the Platinum Plan. Have you guys heard about it?
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Yep.
Why's it got to be platinum, Malik?
Right.
Is that on purpose? That on purpose, Malik?
You know it's on purpose.
It is
That was the first thing I said. I was like, oh boy, here we go. God.
But listen, why is he doing it so close to the election?
Right.
well, because Joe Biden's got what? Lift every voice. Right? That's his black plan. No, actually, it's not a black plan. It's just for the areas where most black people live, right? So that's how he put it. But Trump is like, nah, we're going after those black people, and here's the Platinum Plan. And it's about business and getting access to capital and things like that. So the funny thing is that they really haven't gone after the black vote since 1960 when we were talking about, the Freedom Rights Act and things like that. So they never thought of us as important enough to even talk. They were like, the black people vote for Democrats and that's it, right?
Mhm.
So, and the Republicans are like, well, we're going to go after the suburban people. We're just going to get more white people and we're going to get this country back because they're the ones who have all the businesses, right? And the money. And so now we're actually being talked about. Black males are actually being talked about like, vote for me, black male. And this is what I can do for you, black male. And I mean, what do you guys think of that?
But look, is that real or is that the okie doke?
And there you go.
No,
Okey-doke.
no, for both.
It's
It's
okey-doke.
politics. It's
And
classic
I-
politics.
Yeah, and I still question: are they speaking to the black males? Because a lot of times we get left out of a lot of situations. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like that's just personally how I feel.
I say- Speaking, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, he is speaking to black males, but he's speaking to a certain segment of black males.
Gotcha.
As he always makes it a point to say the blue side or the red side. So whatever brothers are, the Republicans, then of course, they're going to be try to open up doors for them in that
Yeah.
aspect. That's what I was going to say.
So let
Now,
me
is this black males? I guess like who was that? The governor or whomever of where the young lady was shot? Are we talking about those gentlemen?
You're talking there. You're talking there in Louisville.
Yeah.
I know you're talking here. The Breonna Taylor thing.
Yeah.
Don't fool us. No one was getting that.
Right.
Once I heard the report about he shot first, game was on.
Right.
Done.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
That was it. He shot first. Done. Next.
That's it.
There's nothing else to say after that.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
Wow.
Breonna shouldn't have been hit. Okay. We agree. She should have been shot. She shouldn't have been living with that guy. She shouldn't have been associated with that other guy. She shouldn't have been this. She should have been this, and she wouldn't be dead. Whatever. He shot first. Done. Cops are off.
Yeah.
You're right.
Wow.
Yeah. Listen, I don't even want to get to the Breonna because it's
Wow,
so
that's a tough
layered,
one.
right? And I don't know if we got enough time. I will say this though, right? Republicans are sitting back looking at the numbers.
Yeah.
They're saying, okay, to win, I need to shave X amount of percentage off of Biden's base. And black people only make up 13% of the population.
Anyway,
Mhm.
right.
Overwhelmingly, white black women vote Democratic, right? So they're like, okay, you know what? We know we can't, get black women. Let's see what we can say to kind of peel off maybe 1% or 2% of the black male vote. So we'll
Finesse.
say, the platinum plan, right?
Yeah.
And what is the platinum plan? Nobody knows what that is, right?
Mhm.
But it sounds good, but maybe it's good enough just to get like 1% of that vote away from Trump. And once he's in office, right, he's gonna forget about that,
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
because this policy, like
Yeah.
once again, if you look back and say, what has the Trump administration done policy-wise that improves your life, right? What can you speak to that improved your life? The Trump administration, what has he done policy-wise that has improved your life? I can't think of anything.
Right.
I personally cannot think of anything. And I am a small business owner. And I can't think of anything.
And we're not even talking about COVID. Like the
No.
way that was
Right. No.
that affected. Listen, that has affected my business, and it still today affects my business.
Right.
Right? And that goes right back to leadership. There's no national plan in place, no
No.
federal plan in place,
No.
right? It's like each state do your own thing,
Yeah.
Right.
And good luck.
Yeah, and good luck. Good luck,
Good luck.
you know?
And
when
in
they do have
the
information-
military, they would say, "Thank you for your service." Pat you on the back.
Yeah. So
When
listen,
I look
think
at
it's
the
gonna get worse.
when I look at the platinum plan, yeah, first thing I saw was the name. Second thing I looked at was we're gonna put some money in the Black community. So then I thought, okay, so people want money in their pocket. So okay, fine, maybe that 1-2% might go over. But then Malik says the black male is a consumer, and he's correct. So then he's gonna turn around and pump that economy. And Trump's gonna say, "Look what I did! I put that
Yeah.
money in his pocket.
Yeah.
He in turn pumped the economy. That's me. I did it." And so, yeah, Malik, you get me on your side, brother. Like it does seem like the plan. It does seem like it's all in the plan.
So you got my vote. You got my vote, boy.
Yep.
I would
Well,
vote.
check it out, gentlemen. Malik is on the money. Extremely bright cat. System is in place. A lot of this information is planned, but we can derail most of it. A lot of it we can derail. We had this conversation, Malik, yesterday, where I think this younger generation is a little different. I think the diversity of the younger generation, their thought process, they come together and they're really not going for a lot of the okie doke. And when I say okie doke, meaning, all right, we're going to just put this plan together right in front of you really quickly. I think they're a little bit brighter. I think they've done research and they won't go for it. That's why I really strongly believe that the change that we need will come. A lot of politicians will say whatever they need to say to get in office. We've known that for years. And I just think there's a generation that's right behind us that will not allow that to continue to happen. They'll put people in front where, listen, if you said you're going to do something, make sure you do it. And I that's my feeling. That's my feeling. I listen here and I know we put out a lot of good information and the stats and the system tell us different, but we have the power and this generation right behind us to change things.
So I'm gonna put you back on you, right?
Yes.
I have twins, boy and a girl, right? They're juniors in college, right? My daughter was, fortunate enough to get an athletic scholarship to A&T, right? Business major, bright, extremely bright. She's my hope. You know what I'm saying? My son's like an artist, right? But she registered to vote, went to go vote in the primaries, right? And I was like, "Hey, Shay, who you voting for?" She was like, "I don't know. I don't even know who's running." Young person, bright. I was like, "Shay, what do you read? Like, how do you get your information?" She said the Shade Room, right? Instagram, like whatever the post is, right? So intelligent, bright, knows what she wants to do career-wise, right? Stable. But this is that generation. And I go into schools, right? And depending on the school I go to, let's say the best school, like, there's an all boys Catholic school in Brooklyn. Rush, Chris, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, I know you're
Number
talking about.
one, yeah, right? I go in there and they got the Young Republicans, right? The Federalist Society.
Yeah.
They're grooming these kids
Yeah.
for a certain career path.
Yeah.
Right? So whether it's going to change, my pops thought our generation was going to be that change, right?
Yeah.
My grandfather thought my pop's generation was going to be that change. In the 60s, they thought, hey, that next generation is going to change. And you know what? It has, but it's also a war. So we may win a battle, but the war's still going on. Listen, conservatives are still fighting Roe v. Wade.
Yeah. Today.
Today. That was what, 30, 35 years ago? They haven't given up on that. You know what they did? They built a better system. They're like, okay.
But what you said, Malik, is key. You said it's a battle. There's change that's occurring, but you got to keep working at it. We can't give up.
We're not giving up.
You got to be persistent.
Yeah, I will say this, right? In the Bible, there's this proverb, right? And it basically talks about when they were building the wall, right? And in one hand, they had the scalpel where they were constructing the wall. And in the other hand, they had the shield defending the wall, right? And that's basically the mentality. It's like the work that you put in to build something, you got to put in double that work to maintain it.
Yeah.
Yes.
right? And it gets exhausting. I am a business owner, trust me. There are days when I'm like, yo, not only do I have to like sell new accounts and maintain my current accounts, but I got to defend those accounts. I got to go out and get new stuff, and it doesn't stop, right? And that's just the way this world is. It's like as much energy as it takes to build something, you got to put it double that into maintaining it, because the enemy is keep coming. They're not going to stop. They don't get exhausted.
It's a
No,
grind.
It's a
It's
grind.
a grind.
and I'm glad that we're here, and we are going to cut this short. Not short. We've been on for an hour. I love you, brothers, so dearly, because you guys do give me hope, and I agree with D so heartily. Man, I tell you, you know, when we come together and when people listen to it, I hope it uplifts them to let them know that we too will keep on. Right? We're thinking, we're reading, we're smart, and they're not going to pull the old okey doke on us. And they can say all the numbers they want to say about whatever uptick and this tick, but we're still reaching back and grabbing our kids and coming forward. So until next time, love you, brothers.
All
All
right.
right, bro. Thanks again, fellas. Thanks again, man. I always look forward to this.
Yeah.
All right.
Native of all love, Malik.
Native Of, there you go. Hey, nativeof.com. Make sure y'all support that.
What is it called?
Nativeof.com.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I'm gonna have to get me some stuff.
Definitely, definitely, definitely.
Yeah.
Black owned business. Black
All
owned
right.
There
business.
it is, brother.
I
All right,
need my
brother.
10% cut, Malik. My 10% advertisement.
All right.
Be safe.
Be cool, fellas. All love. Appreciate it.
Have a good one.